hands up, we all gon' shine. Work through adversity, stay on the grind. Elevate, elevate, this is our time. Elevate, elevate.
Good morning, folks. Hope you're doing well on this beautiful, amazing Wednesday morning, March 25th. It's snowing in parts of the country. It's sunny in others, but that's the beautiful part of our country. It's vast, it's wide, it's big, and it's ours. For now, at least. It's where we talk about today. It's the likes of the U.S. doing U.S. things. Doing the work for us as per usual, in Canada not being able to do much of anything at all. Of course, we're going to talk about the fact that the U.S. has sanctioned a company out of Vancouver who has links to funding Hezbollah to the tune of $100 million. And we're discussing that. And more so the fallout of how this all works together. So yes, we're not going to just headline read today. We're going to talk about the headlines, of course, but we're going to break down the reasons behind what we are currently seeing. Why is Anita not running away from the media? Why is she not responding to questions about this? Why is she hiding? Why is this happening? Why is it continuing to allow to happen? And these are the questions we're going to address today. And the fact that these are questions that could be easily answered, but just don't want to be answered because they prefer to control your life instead of dealing with the threats on our borders and inside of our borders here in this country. So we're going to be discussing this on top of the theme of that today in terms of our national security, as Frank Caputo puts Gary on a songry on blast in committee and talks about, hey, what's going on with China? What's going on with this MOU that you refuse to talk about? What's going on with this MOU and the security issues that we've entered into with China? You just won't tell the Canadians about what's going on with that. So talking about that. And of course, we'll get into a little bit, just a tinsy bit, of course, what happened in question period yesterday with Lena Diab just getting torched left, right, and center. And it is very comical to see the Liberal Party constantly put up, specifically when immigration issues come up, they are strategically have Mark Miller answer the question, Sean Fraser answer the question, then Lena Diab answer the question. And I don't know if they're doing it to troll the Conservatives and troll Canada, or if they're just that inept in understanding how to deal with this from a political level. I don't know what their issue is. It's just hilarious because they just end up getting smoked by the Conservatives in a question period. And you know, they set the Conservatives up for it. Where it's like, all right, we're gonna come in hard on immigration. We're gonna put Sean Fraser up to answer a question. Okay, we're gonna come in hard on immigration, and then next answer to that is Mark Miller answers the question. Okay. Then you're going to come hard on a question, and then we're going to finally get to the actual immigration minister, Lena Diab. And, of course, that's always a fun time to listen to, isn't it? So this and so much more. Looking forward to getting to all of it with you. Mike Stewart says, Lena Diab blinks when she lies. So it means all the time. Got it. Sounds good. Sounds good. I was seeing earlier, I was looking in the general chat. There's an individual, a comment that caught my eye this morning. See if I can pop it up because you guys have been there it is. Oh no, wasn't it? There it is. Limestone Holiday Lighting 5116 says, good morning from Kingston, Ontario. I listen to every podcast since your inception. That's insane, dude. That's insane because we've been around a long time. We were, as anyone knows the history of the show, we started off talking about business, marketing, and design because those are the areas that I was an expert. Well, I should say the design is the area I was an expert in. And our whole goal of the show was to bring on experts to talk about these issues of business, marketing, and design. And then, well, politics kept getting in the way of our business and forced us to talk about it. And then we became a political show. Now here we are. All these years later, I went through 2 co-hosts, and actually technically one co-host still is with me, I should say, but just with us on a once a week basis. Anyways, I'm getting distracted. Let's get into the show, shall we? Look, you guys are looking beautiful today. Chat's looking amazing today. Make sure to hit the like button on your way in. Give us some love. It helps us out a lot, especially when in terms to get the live stream to other people. We did well yesterday. Let's see if we can do well again today. We already have 1.2 thousand of you in here. Now let's get this party started, y'all. So, U.S. sanctions Vancouver company for alleged ties to Hezbollah. Oh, Canada, the land of extremism. Ooh, that just hits the right spot, doesn't it? Ooh, makes me feel so warm on the inside. Canada, our home and extremist land. Oh, God love it. Oh, it's amazing, isn't it? Amazing. So this is important because this was reported 2 days ago around noon. My time. This would have been late morning in the Eastern time zone at the time. A Vancouver-based company, has been sanctioned by the United States government for its alleged ties to a $100 million network accused of financing Iran-backed Hezbollah. 7 Seas for International Trading and Logistics was added to the U.S. sanctions list in a move that targeted 16 individuals and entities in the Middle East and Canada. The sanctions allege the co-founder and chief executive officer of the BC company is Raouf Fadel, who is based in Qatar and involved with Hezbollah finance team. Oh, baby, right within our own borders, baby. It's a home, sweet home. I'm feeling very similar to how I feel when I see Canadian athlete performing at the Olympics. It's like, oh, you're one of ours. Let's go. One of ours representing extremism in the international scale. We'd love to see it. Let's go. Keep it going, Raouf Fadel. You're a part of the Hezbollah finance team. God bless you. Oh, man. Corporate records obtained by Global News show the sanctioned Canadian company was registered in BC in 2022 and remains active as 1380892 BC Limited. Its directors are listed as Fadel, as well as Mohammed Wabi and Ahmed Wabi, all of whom are described in the records as residents of Qatar. In addition to sanctioning their BC company, the U.S. Treasury also imposed sanctions on Fadel and Mohammed Wabi, who are both Lebanese citizens. They could not be reached for comment. Oh, color me shocked. No way. Couldn't get them a comment. Goodness. The company's corporate registration was completed by a Winnipeg consulting firm, while its registered address is a Vancouver law firm. The records show. Oh, baby. So, this is where people will read this and look at this and say, why? How do we allow this to happen? Why is it always the U.S. who typically acts first on these issues that are happening on our soil? Why? And part of it, a big part of it is the reason for it. Sam Cooper's talked about this plenty of times, but we'll revisit it here. Is we don't have the laws in place to be able to take care of business. This is why you're seeing so much tension in the House of Commons right now, because the Liberals keep bringing in bills claiming that they're trying to deal with these issues, but none of the bills that they're bringing in are actually dealing with these direct problems. The issues that we're seeing, the reason why Canada can't act on these things is because our system is set up in such a way to effectively protect these individuals. Now, I'm not saying that these laws were designed to protect criminals. No. What I'm saying is there are many holes in our justice system, in our laws, that people are able to come here and exploit and hide. And we allow it. We don't take any action. We're not serious about it. We don't have a government who's very serious about it. And so they get to act with impunity. So when the U.S. gets serious and starts seeing what's going on and tries to lock down a lot of these types of operations happening throughout the world that also ends up having connections to here in Canada, well, of course, they're going to be the first ones to act and sanction our companies. And they're not a real company. Essentially a front for terrorist activities. That's what we learned, or are learning through this. And we're going to get into the details of all of that, and I think it's important. However, before we do that, this news dropped, as I said, 2 days ago. Yesterday, as Foreign Affairs Minister Anita Anand was leaving her caucus meeting yesterday, she was hit with the media questions. She was asked directly, what do you have to say about this, Foreign Affairs Minister Anita Anand? Is it going to be similar to, oh, they didn't tell us about this before, like we said about Mexico and Iran and so on? No. Are we going to talk about any of these? Venezuela, another one. Is it going to be one of those answers? Oh, they didn't tell us beforehand. Is it going to be one of those? Let's see. Let's see what her answer really is when this question is posed.
Minister Anand, is able to talk about 7 Seas being sanctioned by the U.S. for apparent Hezbollah connections? Nothing on a Canadian company being sanctioned by the Americans?
I think if you listen carefully, I think she makes the same argument right there that she did with the Venezuela situation, that she made with the Mexico situation, that she made with the Iran situation, is they didn't tell us about it. Maybe we rewind it. Maybe I may have missed it. If you listen carefully, you might hear it again. Listen to the question and listen to the answer. Listen carefully, folks.
Minister Nunn, he's able to talk about 7 Seas being sanctioned by the U.S. for apparent Hezbollah connections. Nothing on a Canadian company being sanctioned by the Americans?
Oh, shoot. No. My bad. I got that wrong. She didn't say anything. She ignored it. Even the reporter's like, are you answer any questions about this? And just keeps walking. Not going to answer any questions about Americans sanctioning 7 Seas trading? No? No? Okay. Bye-bye. I'll see you. The reason being, first off, she doesn't have her talking points yet which is kind of wild because I'm pretty sure she's leaving her caucus meeting right here. You would think she would have her talking points ready for those types of questions. And maybe that was the strategy. Is, hey, we know you're going to get hit with these questions. Just ignore it. Keep walking. Because they don't have an answer for this. Not one that's satisfactory. They can't think of how to delay, to obfuscate, to protect, deflect, avoid. They can't figure that out. They don't know what the language they want to use for that yet. So they're going to ignore. That's the best way to go about this. Just ignore it. Because the real reason is because we don't have laws to deal with these issues. And we have a government that has no political will to do it. No, instead, what they're trying to do is weaponize the fear Canadians have about this, weaponize the stories that come out about this, and bring in laws that clamp down and create more censorship in our country, claiming it's to deal with these issues, even though it has nothing to deal with our laws. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. That's kind of how this all goes. And I'll explain what I mean. There's a few things that we need to address and how our laws operate in this country. Why can America do this and why can't Canada do it? There's a few things. We have we have some walls up. We have some protections up, meaning it's meant to protect people who are being prosecuted, making sure they have a fair trial. But the problem is the laws are so restrictive and making sure we're overly protecting those who are being prosecuted that those laws are being taken advantage of. I'll show you what I mean. When it comes to how the U.S. handles these issues and how Canada addresses these issues, I'll say this. I'm going to simplify this. So in both cases, in both countries, when you're going to bring evidence to a trial, you have to provide evidence and making sure that say you're the prosecution and you have to provide your evidence to the defense of what you're going to bring to the table. They have to have a heads up of what you're bringing. In the US, they have a loophole for this, specifically in the legal side. Whereas if there's any evidence that's provided by secret intelligence or federal intelligence on any type of issue, it doesn't have to be disclosed to those who are being prosecuted. It doesn't have to be disclosed to the defense. In Canada, we don't have that. So what happens is the US will give us intelligence on all these types of issues, but we can't use it in our courts because we would have to provide it to the defense. And the US says, well, we're not going to give it to you because we don't want this public. We have to protect our sources. So Canada has an opportunity to use the intel that the US shares with them, but they can't use it in court. They can't use it to prosecute because they'll have to provide it fully to the other side. And the US says, no, this is secret intelligence. We can't have that. Well, Canada has to either drop the case or find another way to prosecute the individual. So in most cases, it's far easier just to, okay, we have to let it go. And so because we have so many of these types of cases that are taking place in our country, it's far easier to just ignore it. And that's just one piece of our law. There are other issues that we have as well. We have the issue as well where, let me just double check. I'm just going to make sure I get my notes here correctly. Oh, yeah, that's it. That's the issue. Evidentiary standards as well. is in Canada, you have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that this, in this case, for the case that we're talking about here, that this company was involved with funding Hezbollah. You have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt to be able to put them away. In the US, it's more so along the lines of you can have reasonable doubt. You're allowed to do that. I'm trying to make sure I got my topics here first here, folks. Reasonable cause. In the US, you have reasonable cause to believe. So essentially, you can get the evidence together, have what you have, and then you can go after the individual or the people that you're looking to prosecute. So in the US, you have, okay, as long as we have a case, we can take it to them. In Canada, if you do not have everything in a line, meaning you don't have the smoking gun, and what I mean by that is you can't tie these names to doing this specific activity on paper, then they get let off. Versus in the US, it's like, no, what we were seeing is what we're seeing here. We're seeing that these names are attached to this activity, even though we didn't see them hand the money directly over. We know that they are involved with it based on this, and this. Well, we can prosecute. We can go after. We can sanction. In Canada, you can't do that. So again, if you can't prove beyond a reasonable doubt, well, here we go. And this is the issue, and this is how this operates as well, is a lot of these groups, they're all shell companies. It's this company that's linked to this company, that's linked to this company, this person to that person, that person. It's all very hidden and on purpose. So it makes it impossible under our current laws to make those connections directly. So our Canadian officials just throw up their hands and go, don't know, can't do it, can't go after them. Whoops. Whereas the US laws are a little bit more flexible in dealing with these types of issues. So this is part of the problem why the US is getting frustrated with us when it especially comes to these specific security issues. It's because we do have laws that protect these individuals from being able to do this stuff. And again, I'm giving a very simplistic answer, an overview, but this is kind of giving you more of a taste of what we're dealing with here. Is these individuals are completely and utterly using the gray areas of our law system to be able to circumvent being prosecuted. And our CMP are tossing their hands up in the air. That's why you see the likes of Duhem when it came to the Indian issue, where, we're seeing lots of foreign interference happening. And then when asked again, we can't actually prove the direct links. This is the stuff we're talking about. Is there's no laws that are trying to make carve-outs or exceptions in some of these issues in order to effectively prosecute these entities. And there's no political will to do it from the Liberals. There's none. However, there is political will to bring in a bunch of other bills. And so this is the issue. We talked about two specific problems when being able to prosecute these types of entities. So you tell me in which of these bills this is introduced in, okay? Bill C2, which was brought in specifically to increase, they raised the maximum administrative monetary penalties and criminal punishments for violations. Okay, so they're punishing people harder if they get convicted. Cool. Compliance orders, forcing entities to enter into compliance agreements with FinTrack. If they refuse or fail, the director can issue a compliance order. Breaking that order is now a new criminal violation. Okay, great. Doesn't solve the issue we're talking about today. Cash restrictions, prohibiting certain entities from accepting cash payments, donations, or deposits of $10,000 or more to prevent smurfing, breaking large amounts of cash into smaller deposits. Okay, we're sort of getting there now, but not really doing the deal. Then information sharing, allowing the director of FinTrack to sit on a committee with the superintendent of financial institutions to better exchange intelligence on high-level financial threats. So we get to talk about it more, but we don't get to do anything about it. Understood. So that was Bill C2. Oh yeah, don't forget about the other parts of Bill C2. Mail inspection. We're now going to allow We're going to expand the Canada Post authority to open mail, specifically letters, under certain circumstances to intercept the trafficking of illicit substances through the postal system. Great. Awesome. Thank you, Bill C2. An accelerated scheduling, creating a temporary accelerated scheduling pathway that allows the Minister of Health to rapidly add new precursor chemicals to the Controlled Drugs and Substances Act to stay ahead of underground chemists. And I'll be honest with you. Bill C2 was probably the closest you're going to get to dealing with any of the issues we're talking about and alleged to in this situation we're dealing with right now. Bill C2 was the closest. And even then, it wasn't even in the same ballpark. Not even close to us. Then we look at Bill C22, where they want to build technical back doors. They're going to force companies to build technical back doors so they can essentially spy on what you're doing, see what you're doing. They wanted that. They want subscriber info, allow authorities to obtain subscriber information, names, addresses, and phone numbers from telecom companies via specific production order to identify who is behind an account. And then digital tracking, aimed specifically at combating human trafficking and terrorism by modernizing how police access messaging and location data between suspected criminals. They keep bringing in bills that are giving more sweeping powers to our authorities to access your digital records. That's what they're offering. When the specific issue is our laws need to be addressed. They need to be modernized. They need to be looked at in order to prosecute. We've caught a lot of these guys. The RCMP have caught red-handed these guys multiple times over, but can't do anything about it. CSIS can only go to Sam Cooper's door, knock on his door and saying, hey, by the way, China's got you on a kill list. Good luck. That's all they can do. They have no method to go after these guys. So giving them more tools to look at what they're doing is not helpful. We need modernized laws to take care of business on this. Modernized. But don't worry, we got Bill C9 that takes care of hate crimes. We're going to take away the religious defense because we care about safety. Give me a break. Don't worry, Bill C14 coming in. The Bail and Sentencing Reform Act addresses big crimes by making it harder for repeat violent offenders to get bail, which has been a point of contention regarding organized crime and gang violence. Again, great, tougher bail, awesome. We want to see that. We've been wanting that. But that's good for low-level crime or, mid-tier, low-level crime. Right now, what we're talking about today is high-level international crime that you can do nothing about. And you have not introduced any bills to deal with it. None whatsoever. You've brought up a bunch of censorship bills claiming this is how you're going to handle it, even though it doesn't address the issues whatsoever. Great. Stronger bail. We want to see that. But otherwise, everything I've read for you today is just more ways to clamp down on who? You're giving more tools to law enforcement for what? To be able to not prosecute them ever anyways? Why are you giving them more tools if they can't prosecute the individuals? That's the question we need to be asking. That is the question you need to be asking. So that's when I go back to this clip here. And you have a question giving to Anita Anand right now
He's able to talk about
what's going on with the specific issue
by the
in
US
Vancouver.
for apparent Hezbollah connections. Nothing on a Canadian company being sanctioned by the Americans?
She can say nothing because there's nothing that she can say. Because her government refuses to actually act on any of this. Sorry. Oh yeah, by the way, the left can't just, but the provinces on this one can't do it. Guess what? The criminal code lies with the federal government, and they refuse to do anything about it. They want to bring in these stupid censorship laws, claim the conservatives are blocking them, cry about it. That's what they want to do. Then they'll manufacture a majority, they push these through and get nothing done at the same time. That's how this all goes. Anyways, I'm heated. Let's go to Super Chats, bibbies. Guess we gotta give the old refresh, pull up some of these Super Chats. Love that for us. All right. Scotty War says Canada's an easy mark for corruption. Few parts will function without it. Yeah, we are such an easy piece of the puzzle, 100%. Bandit 249 Saw says, just had a thought. Biden and Carney are the same. Biden ran America from the basement and avoided the media. Carney runs Canada from outside of the country and avoids question period. Yes. And that's coming from a Michigander right there. That's saying something. That even he sees what's going on. And I have made the same connection before where this right now, this Carney moment is our Biden moment where we don't really have leadership right now. And he said it himself, I'm not the only spokesperson for the government, meaning he's not really the leader. He doesn't view himself as the leader unless it's convenient. And as just allowing all this crime to run rampant with nothing to be done about it. This is our Biden era right now here, folks. This is our Biden era. A man who avoids the media, doesn't want to talk to it, runs from it, instructs his ministers to run from the media. And this guy just tries to run the country from outside the country. Wild. Mike Stewart says the CCP sent people to our Western law schools not to learn the way rule of law to bring home. Sorry. The CCP sent people to our Western law schools not to learn the way, the rule of law to bring home. That's their biggest nightmare. They were sent here to learn how to exploit us. That tracks. It definitely would track. We've seen what China's doing right now with exploiting indigenous reserves right now. Indigenous chiefs. Because they know that laws typically aren't really touching the way our system operates. A lot of the way things operate don't touch a lot of the indigenous land. So they go to these chiefs and just do deals with these chiefs, and they essentially are away from the oversight of the government. It's exploitation to its finest degree, and we are wide open to it. And the Liberals don't care because we are witnessing the Liberal Party of Canada, the LPC, doing work with the CCP. Baby, here we go. So that's where we're at. I'm seeing the likes of the general chat is popping off. Everything's popping off. We love seeing some of these chats going off. Trees14 says Gary Anand, Jolie, Fraser, and Miller need to step down, and we must get Carney out of Canada. Yeah, I agree. But we move on because when it comes to national security, it's been an issue. And if you know anything about what's been going on recently, we have Frank Caputo, conservative MP, who's been harping on the issue of, hey, this MOU got signed with China around intelligence. Can anyone tell us about it? Anyone instruct us what's been going on with it? We'd love to know what's been going on with it. Help us know. So Gary Anasalmi came into committee, our public safety minister, had to answer some questions to that. Frank Caputo asked him directly about, hey, when are you going to show the Canadian public what was in that MOU you signed with China? Let us know what it was. We'd love to know. So we talked about this morning already with national security issues with a Vancouver company being a part of a $100 million scheme to fund Hezbollah. So we know that China has gotten much closer to us and is within our borders doing whatever they so please and exploiting our laws and our treaties as well with Indigenous people. So anything you want to express, anything you want to share with what we're sharing in terms of intelligence, since we're giving them everything at this point and being taken over by them, let us know. What is going on? When are we going to get that MOU coming out? That was the question. Here we go.
Minutes, please.
Thank you to you, Minister. Welcome, and I welcome all of the witnesses with a special welcome to Commissioner Daklabab. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Welcome to the table and welcome to your new role. Prime Minister Carney called China our greatest security threat during the last election, yet he signed a memorandum of understanding with respect to matters of intelligence. Canadians have not yet seen it. I asked for it roughly a month and a half ago. Where is it?
Thank you,
Mr. Caputo, for that question, and let me acknowledge that I have addressed this issue on a number of occasions, but let me just repeat today that there is imperative for Canada to ensure that we meet countries where they're at, not where we want them to be.
Minister,
as a result,
Minister, with all due respect, I'm going to reclaim my time here. I'm not talking about meeting countries. Where is the memorandum? Why haven't we seen it? When will we get it?
So what I will say, Mr. Caputo, is that the memorandum of understanding was signed while the Prime Minister was in China. It was signed by the Minister of Foreign Affairs. It was an understanding between our CMP as well as...
Minister, I didn't ask what it was. I asked where it was. Where is it?
Well, if I may, Mr. Caputo, I'm going to ask the Commissioner to answer that question.
Asking you, the buck stops with you. You are the Minister of Public Safety. Where is it?
Well, Mr. Caputo, if I may suggest, the MOU involves the RCMP, and it was signed by Minister Anand on behalf of the Government of Canada, and I'd like to ask the Commissioner Duhem to answer that question.
If I'm not going to get an answer from you, the top person in this portfolio, if you don't know the answer, and that's no disrespect to the Commissioner of the RCMP, if you don't know the answer where an MOU is or when we might get it, I've got an issue with that, and I think Canadians will as well.
So there you go. That's the deflection right there. Where's the MOU? You're the Minister of Public Safety. Where's the MOU? When's it going to be public? I think the RCMP Commissioner can answer that question. I'm sorry. If I double check that, Mr. Duhem didn't go with you to China when you signed the MOU. Now, where is it? RCMP can answer that question. No, you're in the government. You're on this file. Where is the MOU? Oh, RCMP will answer that question for you. Clearly, you're not going to share it. You're going to hide it. And we have no idea what we're sharing with China right now. So for all we know, and I'm going to assume this at this point, all of our data, anything that's in our systems is up for grabs right now. I have to assume it. If you're not going to tell us what's going on, I have to assume the worst. That China has full access to our systems and the RCMP is allowing it because you signed this MOU. That's the only assumption I can make at this point. You can call me hysterical. You can say I'm exaggerating, but when there's an absence of transparency and the mind is left to travel, you go to the worst places possible. And that's really the story of our country right there, isn't it? You have people literally being driven nuts right now. People going down this rabbit hole, that rabbit hole, this, that, the other. Some are accurate, some are very inaccurate. And then the liberals will look at, oh, you guys are just conspiracy theorists. And I'm saying, I can't blame them for it. Even though I don't agree with some, agree with others, it doesn't matter. You gave fuel for this to happen. You weren't transparent. You weren't upfront. You gave people the rooms for their minds to drift. And on top of that, you screwed over the people multiple times over before you were incredibly, incredibly dense and had no transparency. So people are just going to the worst thing possible at this point. And I can't blame them for it. Can't blame them for it. I read some crazy stuff in this chat sometimes, man, that I have to ignore. But I get it. I understand where you're coming from. Because you're given no other choice but to entertain the worst of the worst that comes to your mind because they leave it to your imagination to figure out what's going on. And when you start sharing these ideas and thoughts you have with your friends, liberals start getting scared and bring in bills to clamp down like Bill C-22. Oh, let's look into the stuff they're looking at. Let's look at their search history. Hey, company, build us a back door so we can see what they're looking at. Don't want to? Get out of the country. Here we go. That's how it goes, baby. That's how it's going. However, Kate Harrison hops on Power and Politics to kind of bring all this together with what's been happening with the student issue and the fraud that's been happening there. And the government has told us that, hey, don't worry. We are on top of it now. We're bringing down the amount of student visas we're issuing. We're going to be on top of it, be tight on it. And that's the reason they're giving out, saying, don't worry, it's all good. So JP Tasker asked this question to Kate Harrison and was like, hey, so do you have trust with this? Do you believe this? And this was Kate Harrison's answer to that.
4,000 were investigated, kind of. But the minister is now saying, okay, every time an institution flags a potentially problematic student who might be non-compliant, we've been able to check up on them since last year, so nothing is getting biased now. Does that make you have confidence in the international student program?
No, because we're accepting far fewer international students, so I would surely hope that they are able to keep better tabs on a much smaller number of those people. The issue, JP, here is that we know the government has enforcement capabilities. We're in tax season right now. I'm sure a lot of Canadians might have owed money on their taxes, and you know that CRA is relentless in their ability to come and collect from Canadians, yet it seems the ability to enforce shoddy immigration laws, everybody was asleep at the switch in terms of examining these cases of fraud. So it's that breeds skepticism around the value of these programs. And there's more than a domestic impact here to how this has been handled. We're in the middle of the Kuzma review. The U.S. has been very clear about issues that they have around the integrity of our border, the integrity of our immigration programs. I am sure that the AG report has probably caught their attention as well. So it's not just the domestic impact of this, but what signal does it send to allies in the United States about how seriously we take these things? At some point, there needs to be some accountability for how poorly this was managed over the course of the last 4 or 5 years or more.
So everything immigration related, everything related to international security has been coming up terrible for the federal government. You have the Hezbollah issue here, the Vancouver company. You have obviously the student visa fraud and all of that. You have the likes of the Chinese MOU and the fact that they are in our country doing God knows what. Nothing. And Kate Harrison brings up a very good point here. Is as we're going into a Kuzma review, what signal does this give the United States? It clearly gives them a signal that we're not serious about any of this and that we're not a reliable partner. Everything we accuse the U.S. of being, well, they're not a reliable trade partner anymore. We've proven that we're not a reliable security partner either. And we're continuing to prove that. Yet we have the likes of, I've seen stuff online of people getting on their friggin' TikToks, whatever else, saying Canadians can't travel to the United States. They can't travel to the United States anymore. Because of the cuts they've made is the reason why Air Canada's flight collided with that the emergency vehicle in LaGuardia. That's why you can't go. They're killing us. They're not only killing their own people. ICE is killing their own people. They're also killing Canadians. I saw that on a video this morning. That got plenty of play. A lot of people think this way, man. And they really do believe America is the source of all of our problems. Sorry, man. These problems had been ongoing long before tariffs were imposed on us. Long before it. Sorry to break it to you. I know it hurts your sensibilities, but that's it, man. That's where we're at. And this is kind of where we're going. And so it was really funny watching Question Period yesterday. And again, the former immigration minister after former immigration minister to the current immigration minister trying to answer Poilievre's questions in Question Period. We'll pick it up after when Poilievre starts questioning Lina Diab directly because, you know, Sean Fraser and Mark Miller are forgettable and that exchange has been played plenty of times over at this point. I don't want to replay it. But yeah, Mark Miller said some crazy stuff to Poilievre in French in that exchange too, which is nuts. And then Sean Fraser also said some stupidity. No, we won't play the whole thing. We'll see what the chat's feeling. But we'll go from there. But let's before we get into that, let's look into some of the amazing Chat, here we got here, folks. Holy crap. We are backed up here. Mike Stewart says, you all need to read Unrestricted Warfare. I'll take a look. I'll take that into account. Nylock says, Carney is apparently refusing the pipeline now. I don't see how this doesn't fuel separation even more. We're being destroyed for fun at this point. And I believe Reg threw in a response to that as well, saying, where did you see that? And I think Nylock is mainly talking about the fact that all of a sudden what was it? Things that have to be satisfied with the MOU versus all of a sudden not being satisfied, and it's the deadline's being pushed right now. So essentially it's more so that the deadline's being pushed and there's just obstruction around it. And the obstruction, let's just say, is not coming from Danielle Smith's side, as I think that's what Nylock's referring to. Mike Stewart says, my fellow Canadians, even if you think you understand it, you need to read Unrestricted Warfare. Everything becomes clear for your children's sake. And he also follows that up with, the money in Ottawa must be filthy as a... The money in Ottawa must be filthy AF with all the passing of the buck that occurs. Fair play, man. Jay English says, they'll deflect like that and then call the Conservatives obstructionists. Please make this crap make sense. LL Cool G12 says, every province in Canada should be thinking the same way as Alberta and Quebec. It's not being a traitor. It's doing everything you can to save your province and the future of your children. The dictator will not stop. It's time to take a stance. Yes, this goes fairly back to my conversations from our topics from yesterday, actually, where it's a requirement now at this point that every province take a similar stance that the likes of Alberta and Quebec are taking, is taking control and ownership of your borders as a province and pushing back. That's the key here. And we're seeing some premiers do it. 4 premiers currently at the moment push back on a lot of this stuff. But the issue we have is there are other provinces that are far poorer than others and are very much reliant on the federal government handouts and can only push back so much. And this is the issue, it's getting to the point where it doesn't matter anymore about that. If you want to see your provincial governments act, you have to put pressure on your provincial governments to act. That is it. That's how this goes. If you want your provincial governments to push back against the Canadian or against the federal government, you have to push on your provincial government to do that and to want to take that stance. We see it in Nova Scotia here. A couple rallies out front of Province House all of a sudden got Houston to change his mind on his budget. Houston's weak-willed. He will move. He will move. I remember, no one's caught this, but I remember when he got into power, the convoy happened. And as soon as the convoy happened, Emergencies Act came down, those restrictions got lifted immediately. Houston doesn't have the stomach to deal with pushback. Doesn't have the stomach for it. So if the people rise up and knock on Province House saying you're going to do X, Y, and Z, or you're not continuing as a leader, he'll fight back. He'll have to. David the Crom King says, because of everything going on, I decided I'm going to run for my town's city council because of shows like yours. Meant to send this yesterday. LOLs, ha-ha-has. That's awesome, man. I'm actually really happy to hear that, actually. Yeah, can't stop saying actually. I'm happy to hear that. And I think that's a great message for everybody is you don't have to be involved in federal politics. A lot of the decision making and a lot of the needle moving happens at the municipal and provincial levels. That is something that's very key and people need to keep in mind. And you get involved at those levels, that's where you can see true change and push back on the top-down approaches coming from Ottawa. So seeing the likes of David the Crom King saying, hey, I'm running in my town city council might seem like small potatoes, but it's huge. We need more sensible people in our politics. It's the reason why, if actually anyone's listening right now, I'll put this out. I've been meaning to put this out. Specifically in Nova Scotia, and I'll extend this to New Brunswick as well. Maybe PEI. You know what? All the maritime provinces, I'll say, aside from Newfoundland, because it's hard to get to Newfoundland from here. But PEI, Nova Scotia, New Brunswick. I'm currently taking in requests for speaking, requests for engagement with your local EDAs. anyone who wants to kind of bring a guest speaker, have a conversation of how we can kind of spur some energy in our local EDAs, feel free to email the show at the hi@elevatepodcast.ca. And again, we are changing our domain is over, but that's what it is right now, hi@elevatepodcast.ca. Feel free to email us there because we want to engage with you at this level to help spur on what's happening in our different communities. So if you are in control or you are contributing to your local EDA and you have say over kind of what you want or want to see happen, feel free to send us an email. We'd love to collaborate with you guys and seeing how we can get things moving and get people motivated on the ground. So none of this stuff takes hold in our provinces here in Atlantic Canada, and that's an aside. Reg Manzer says, we got to throw some hope in here, Josh. Well, there's your hope there, Reg. There's your hope. Wakendon says, if we leave our children in a world where we never stood up, they'll inherit a world where they can't. Spot on. Spot on. Mike Stewart says, the government operates on double speak. Yes, 100%. And then Dan Cordero became a new member. Let's go. Yeehaw, babies. Yeehaw, babies. We go to question period because this was fun yesterday. Yesterday was fun. Let's go to the 4-minute mark here. So, as I said, question period was a blast, and Poilievre and the Conservatives took time to make sure to let Lena Diab know and the former immigration ministers that they, quite frankly, suck at their jobs. And so this back and forth was hilarious to watch. It's about a 3-minute back and forth. We'll stop throughout and talk about it, but I thought it was funny.
Leader of the opposition.
This Prime Minister is rewarding and encouraging incompetence by putting the single worst immigration minister in Canadian history in as the new Minister of Justice. That minister caused a 300% increase in population growth. Now we know that there were hundreds of thousands of potentially fraudulent cases that he refused to have investigated. 97% of the cases of potential fraud were uninvestigated, and half of the remaining 3% were abandoned because the fraudsters did not respond to emails. Will the Prime Minister take responsibility for these incompetent Liberals and fire them now?
Minister of Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Let me repeat for that member and his entire caucus. As I said, since 2025, 100% of the discrepancies reported were followed up. And they were followed up 100% since 2025 with the high-risk investigation.
What is this? Is this my live stream over here? She really had to look at her notes saying, we followed up. I'm sorry, at least I have to refer to my notes for more complex law issues here in this country. She had to refer to her notes for the words followed up. Oh, baby, Lena Diab, you never disappoint.
The Auditor General confirmed improvements took place. IRCC has tightened its approach, and we have control over the student visas. The numbers prove it. Thank you.
Yeah. The Honourable...
That was rough. Rough answer. Clearly not certain of herself. Not certain of herself at all. And Pierre Poilievre, and she took direct aim at Pierre Poilievre in that address, and Pierre Poilievre took aim back at her.
We have only 3% of the 150,000 cases of suspected fraud were investigated at all. Half of those investigations were abandoned because the alleged fraudster didn't respond to their email. But now we learned they have followed up with another email, Mr. Speaker, and the threat is clear. If there is no response to that email, there will be yet another email, Mr. Speaker. With this kind of total incompetence under the leadership of the current Liberal Prime Minister, why won't he fire these 3 ministers so we can get the system?
Don't worry. We followed up. And if they don't answer, we will follow up again. Sorry, my fault. No, I messed that one up. If they don't listen to us again, we will 100% follow up with them. That's what we'll do, baby. That's what we'll do. Listen to Lena go off again.
The honourable minister.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Let me tell Canadians and this member and his caucus that the report examined 18 months.
I also want to say this too, right? I want to make this point as she's talking. So look at this individual behind her. That is Liberal MP Peter Fragistakos. Definitely messed up his last name, but that's who he is. This individual is Lena Diab's Parliament Secretary. This man is the guy that Michelle Rempel-Garner has 100% been saying is getting ready to take over after Lena's done. But he's like her right-hand guy on this file. And it's funny always watching him as she talks in this question period, as you can tell, he's literally the handler, being like give the tap, watch, breathe, hope, maybe. And he's eyeing her, and you can see, look at him, look at her. Look at him, look at her. He's like, oh, I can't wait to have her job. But continue, Lena.
The government had already initiated improvement to the system way before the audit started. The Auditor General confirmed that the system is tightened, the student visas have been examined, improvements has taken place. Since 2025, 100% of referrals from institutions were examined. Thank you.
The honourable leader.
Wow, that's awesome. I love hearing about that. Good job. All right. I think that was it for the exchange there. That's question period. That's Pierre Poilievre going after these ministers, and it's kind of a joke at this point, because that was the issue that brought up earlier on in the question period, was the fact that Mark Carney's in Ottawa but refuses to attend question period and answer this nonsense, because he's not the only spokesperson for the government, of course. And it's actually, you know what? I'm going to continue this, because I think it was, Ian McKinnon? Ian McKinnon answers the next question here, and he gets fired up out of nowhere. Yeah, that's okay. We're gonna play through Pierre Poilievre's response to this, or next question on this, and look at Ian McKinnon's response. Unreal.
That minister to respond for all of the mistakes of her two predecessors, whom he has promoted. But it really is the illusion of this Prime Minister. He refuses to stand and answer questions today, although he is in Ottawa, on the fact that we have the only shrinking economy in the G7, the worst food price inflation in the G7, the worst household debt in the G7, the worst housing costs in the G7, 100,000 jobs lost in the first 2 months of this year. Will the Prime Minister have the courage to stand up now and defend his terrible Liberal track record?
Here goes Ian.
Yeah.
It's funny, though. It takes a long time for them to try and come up with an answer with what Poilievre just said there, because they don't know who's going to answer it. That's more so what's happening right now. Is they're waiting for people to calm down, but they're also on the Liberal side right now trying to figure out who's going to answer that question. They don't know who it was. So it's Liberal House Minister McKinnon who's going to.
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. We will stand up every day and be proud of the Liberal track record in standing up for Canada and building Canada. And what the Leader of the Opposition has been treated to today is a minister who is in control of this file, who has seen immigration levels, student visas go down. In fact, for the first time ever, Mr. Speaker, last year Canada dropped 100,000 population. Canada has one of the best immigration systems in the country, in the world, and people are proud of it. People stand by it. And
I had to end there because that was good. We have the best immigration system in the country. I mean, the world. Wow. This woman has complete control over her file. Man, get Stephen McKinnon down to the local yucks and let him do stand-up, man, because he'd be good at it. That was funny. That's a good story. That was a good story, and one I find absolutely comical. We'll hit some last-minute super chats before we finish with our final story of the day, which was... It's one of those like, oh boy, can we get real for 2 seconds as a country here? Just 2 seconds here, it'd be nice. Some super chats saying here, Josh D. Simmons says, what's the news on the Iranian sleeper cells operations in Canada? That is a fascinating question, sir. and one that we're just kind of holding our breath and waiting and seeing, unfortunately. That's kind of how that stuff operates. Nylock says, it's so much more painful watching this at normal speed. Isn't it? Isn't it? I wish I could run this show on 1.5 speed, and you can. But it sucks when it's live because you can't do it when it's live. But it's fun. It's a lot easier and more manageable. 1.5 speed, 2 speed, 2x speed, however you so choose to watch. Justine Nicole says, anyone else think garden troll when you see her? Oh gosh. Maybe. You are free to make those comments all you want, and I'm not going to stop you. However, I'm also like, I'm not the biggest proponent of ad hominem attacks, even if I really dislike the individual. But I get what you're saying. Lazarus says, liberal track record. You mean the terrible record? Yes. Yes. That's it. The terrible record. That's what we're talking about. That's what we're looking for. Amazing. So last story of the day that we want to touch on, because this was just wild. So I brought this story up to my wife last night. I was like, so guess what? Air Canada's CEO has been summoned to Ottawa over this crash that happened at LaGuardia, which wasn't their fault. So when I saw that CEO was summoned to Ottawa, I was like, why? The crash wasn't their fault. It was the traffic operator that had some miscommunication. And even then, when they realized what they had done, they tried to pull the truck back, but the truck didn't respond back, which we don't know why, and didn't stop. And then, unfortunately, saw this collision that's led to 2 people dying and several people going to hospital. So why? This happened in New York. This wasn't Air Canada's fault. Why is the Air Canada CEO being summoned to Ottawa? Take some guesses, folks. Maybe it's some crazy type of scandal that's taken place in his private life that is inhibiting his decisions as a CEO. Maybe it's internet history. Something came up. Maybe it's something like that. Maybe it's corruption. That only the CEOs in Canada are held to corruption issues and not the government itself. What could it be? Well, here it is, folks. And to any of our American viewers or any viewers who are watching from abroad, I'm about to give you this next article that just sums up our country as a whole right here, folks. Air Canada CEO summoned to Ottawa over English-only condolence message after plane crash. The Air Canada CEO gave a condolence message to the pilots who had perished in this collision. And the first thing our parliament wants to do is, dagnabbit, you didn't use French. Come into Ottawa. You need to explain yourself why you didn't use any French in your condolence message. The explanation, the argument is, well, one of the pilots was from Quebec, so it should have been also in French. In the words of our Prime Minister, Mark Carney, who cares? Why are we devoting resources to this? Why are we devoting resources to sorting out the issue with, I don't know, a Vancouver company who's funding Hezbollah indirectly? No, we're going to use resources to bring in the Air Canada CEO for not speaking a lick of French in his condolence message. This is crazy, dude. This is crazy. Air Canada's chief executive officer was summoned on Tuesday to explain himself. Listen, look at the words used in this article. Explain himself as if he's been a bad boy being dragged in the principal's office. Insane. Explain himself before the committee on official languages regarding his English-only message of a condolence to the families of the pilots, including one from Quebec, who died on Sunday evening in a plane collision at New York's LaGuardia Airport. The statement provoked the committee's strong indignation and is incompatible with the obligations set out in the Official Languages Act and the expectations of the Canadian public, according to the motion tabled in the House and adopted almost immediately by unanimous vote of MPs. CEO Michael Rousseau will therefore have to appear before MPs to explain himself for up to an hour by May 1st at the latest regarding his statement, which has now come under fire from Quebec City, Ottawa, and on social media, which had prompted 84 complaints received by the Commissioner of Official Languages by Tuesday afternoon. That's the threshold, huh? 84 complaints requires a CEO to come in and explain himself because he didn't speak French. I really wish people get this fired up over immigration issues in this country. I wish people get this fired up over student visa fraud. Now we're going to get piped up because he didn't say bonjour. Got it. Unreal, dude. The chat's popping off, man. The chat's popping off. Oh, yo, man. This is so crazy. Oh, goodness gracious. Yeah. What is it? The cryptic stench says, boo effing who. Nobody gives a bleep. Yes. Yeah. Is wild. And then the 7th star says, explain yourself in less than 23 uhs. I like that one too. That's a good one. Proud Grammy says, so the government isn't telling us anything, but people have to answer to know French. OMG. Yes. Welcome to Canada, baby. Our home and extremist land. Lazarus says, can we just tell Quebec, the province, to bleep off already? Quebec, the people, zero issues with, but the province, just bleep off. Oh man, I don't blame any of you guys for it, man. It's frustrating, dude. It's frustrating. 84 complaints is the threshold. 84 complaints. Whoa, he didn't say anything in French. Literally, all he could have said, and that would have satisfied people was like bonjour. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We have pilots that have perished in a flight in LaGuardia Airport, and we send our deepest condolences to the families at this time for this horrendous accident. Good night. Je me souviens. Like, what are we doing here, man? I'm just like, I get frustrated and people can come at me saying, well, you're making light of the deaths. No. People complaining about what language you're using when you're giving your condolences is making light of it. I can't believe we're wasting time on this. Sorry. You are making it a joke, unfortunately. And it's tragic people lost their lives in this. And why are we making the issue about the language being used? Crazy. We have to be upset by something that isn't actually consequential. That's the issue. People love being upset about things that are not consequential to our country. We're an unserious country, and that's it. RC Lamoureux says, soon they'll have to answer for not speaking. Oh my gosh. Okay, we'll leave it there. Oh my goodness. Holy jumping, y'all are crazy. Y'all are something else. But I'll leave it there. You guys are awesome. Today is still a great day. We will be back this afternoon with Reg. Hopefully Reg can feel a little bit more uplifted. Hopefully we'll give a more hopeful message this afternoon. But the news is crazy today, folks. News is crazy. And Lazarus says, terrorists in Canada, violent crime out of control. Liberals don't care. CEO doesn't speak French. Oh, the horror. How dare he? This country is bleeped. And Nylock says, hey, Patriots, Alberta is calling. We're leaving. Bring, he says. Bring. Oh, we jumping. Y'all are wild. I love it. You guys are awesome. This has been fantastic. So whatever it is you're doing, whether you be listening to the show live, or you're listening to the show on repeat and replay, or you're just waking up in the morning and enjoying your day. Whatever it is you're doing, wherever you are. Oh, last super chat of the day, Bandit249 Saw says, I don't hear Quebec going hard on China because the way I see it, Chinese will be your second language soon. Ni hao, sucker. Have yourselves a good one. I'm out.